Welcome to our channel. This is gonna blow your mind. The year is 1945. The world stands at a crossroads, a moment in history that could have gone in many different directions. The world watches in disbelief. Nazi Germany stands triumphant. The Allies are defeated. The once unthinkable has become reality, and the consequences are immediate and far-reaching. Instead of celebrating victory, the world trembles in fear. The streets are filled with uncertainty, and the air is thick with the tension of a future now dominated by a dark force. The Nazi grip tightens on Europe. Cities that once thrived with culture and freedom now echo with the sound of marching boots and the sight of swastikas fluttering in the wind. Their dark ideology casts a long shadow across the globe. Propaganda becomes the new truth, and dissent is crushed under the weight of totalitarian rule. This is not the world we know. The vibrant, diverse societies of pre-war Europe are replaced by a monochrome reality of fear and oppression. This is a world where darkness prevailed. Surveillance is omnipresent, and the very fabric of society is altered beyond recognition. The Second World War, a conflict that ravaged nations and claimed millions of lives, ended with a chilling outcome. The devastation left in its wake is a stark reminder of the cost of unchecked ambition and hatred. The Nazi war machine, fueled by hate and ambition, had achieved its unthinkable goal: global domination. The world is now under the iron fist of a regime that knows no mercy. This victory reshaped the world, shattering alliances and redrawing borders in a horrifying testament to the destructive power of unchecked tyranny. Nations are forced to bow to the new order, their sovereignty stripped away. This essay delves into this chilling alternate history. We will examine the ripple effects of a Nazi victory, exploring how it would have altered the course of human events. We will explore the ramifications of a Nazi victory in World War II. From the immediate imposition of draconian laws to the long-term cultural and societal shifts, the impact would be profound and far-reaching. From immediate changes to long-term effects, we will dissect how this outcome would have molded the world we know. The daily lives of civilians, the structure of governments, and the very essence of freedom would be irrevocably altered. Prepare to confront a reality where democracy faltered and the world succumbed to the sinister ideology of the Third Reich. This is a journey into a world that could have been, a stark warning of the dangers of totalitarianism and the fragility of freedom. The immediate aftermath of a German victory would be a scene of stark transformation. The streets, once filled with the sounds of liberation and hope, would now echo with the heavy boots of Nazi soldiers. Celebrations of freedom would be replaced by parades of oppression. The Nazis, drunk on power, would swiftly implement their brutal vision. Their speeches, filled with venomous rhetoric, would outline a future where their ideology reigned supreme. Plans would be drawn up to reshape the continent in their image. Europe, now under the iron fist of the Reich, would be carved up according to Nazi ideology. Borders would be redrawn, and entire nations would be redefined to fit the twisted vision of the Third Reich. The map of Europe would be unrecognizable. The political landscape would be unrecognizable. Democratic institutions would be dismantled, replaced by authoritarian regimes loyal to Berlin. The halls of power would echo with the commands of Nazi officials. Puppet governments, subservient to Berlin, would replace existing regimes. These new leaders, handpicked by the Nazis, would enforce the will of the Reich without question. Their speeches would be filled with praise for their new masters. Those who dared to resist would face swift and brutal consequences. The Gestapo would hunt down dissidents with ruthless efficiency, and any form of opposition would be crushed. Fear would become a tool of control. The Nazis' racial theories would be ruthlessly enforced. Propaganda would flood the airwaves, spreading their hateful ideology. Laws would be enacted to segregate and persecute those deemed inferior. Targeted groups, deemed undesirable, would be persecuted with chilling efficiency. Communities would be torn apart, families separated, and lives destroyed. The horrors of the Holocaust would be a grim reality. The economic ramifications would be equally dire. Cities once bustling with commerce would lie in ruins. The infrastructure would be decimated and the economy would be in shambles. The Nazi war machine, while victorious, would leave Europe in ruins. Resources would be plundered, and the wealth of nations would be siphoned off to fuel the Reich's ambitions. The continent would be bled dry. Economies would be enslaved to fuel the Nazi war machine. Forced labor camps would become a grim reality, with millions toiling under inhumane conditions. The human cost would be staggering. This new world order, built on oppression and exploitation, would be a stark departure from the world that could have been. The dream of a free and united Europe would be shattered, replaced by a nightmare of tyranny and suffering. The legacy of a German victory would be one of darkness and despair, a haunting reminder of what might have been. The geopolitical map of the world would be redrawn, with borders shifting dramatically and new powers emerging from the ashes of the old. With the fall of Europe, the United States would stand as a lone bastion of freedom, a beacon of hope in a world engulfed by tyranny and chaos. The American spirit, characterized by resilience and determination, would shine brighter than ever before. The once powerful British Empire, crippled by defeat, would retreat into isolation. The streets of London, once bustling with life, would bear the scars of relentless bombings, and the British people would face the daunting task of rebuilding their shattered nation. Its global influence would be a shadow of its former self, as former colonies sought independence and new alliances. The sun would finally set on the British Empire, marking the end of an era. The Soviet Union, decimated by the Nazi war machine, would cease to exist. The once mighty Red Army, which had fought valiantly on the Eastern Front, would be no more, and the Soviet cities, reduced to rubble, would tell the tale of a nation brought to its knees. Its vast territories would be absorbed into the Reich, expanding the Nazi Empire to unprecedented proportions. The dream of a thousand-year Reich would seem within reach as the Nazis consolidated their power over the conquered lands. This victory would fuel the Nazis' insatiable appetite for expansion, pushing their borders further east. The relentless march of the German war machine would leave a trail of destruction and despair in its wake. Asia, too, would feel the ripple effects of a Nazi victory. The balance of power in the region would shift dramatically as the Axis powers tightened their grip on the continent. Japan, emboldened by the fall of the Western powers, would tighten its grip on its conquered territories. The Japanese military, already a formidable force, would become even more aggressive in its pursuit of dominance. The dream of a greater East Asia co-prosperity sphere, a thinly veiled euphemism for Japanese hegemony, would become a terrifying reality. The people of Asia would find themselves under the iron fist of Japanese rule, their hopes for freedom and self-determination crushed under the weight of imperial ambition. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more intriguing alternate histories. The Nazis, obsessed with technological superiority, would continue to invest heavily in research and development. This drive would lead to advancements in fields like rocketry and aviation. The world might witness the chilling spectacle of Nazi spacecraft reaching for the stars. However, these technological marvels would come at a steep price. Scientific progress would be inextricably linked to the Nazis' sinister agenda. Weapons research would take center stage. The world would live under the constant threat of new and terrifying weapons of war. The development of computing, a field still in its infancy during the war, might experience a chilling twist. Instead of being used for the betterment of humanity, this nascent technology could be harnessed for the Nazis' totalitarian purposes. Imagine a world where advanced surveillance systems monitor every citizen's every move.